They called it Hollowmere, a crumbling Victorian mansion swallowed by the woods of Vermont. It's been empty since 1963, ever since the entire Whitlock family vanished into thin air. Locals talk in hushed tones about what happened inside. They whisper of strange séances, of a mirror that refuses to show your reflection, and of a child's lonely lullaby that drifts through the trees on nights when there's no wind. For 60 years, no one dared to step foot inside, until now. Evelyn Crane wasn't your average ghost hunter. She was a conjurer, a spiritualist who claimed she could tear open the veil between the living and the dead. Her YouTube channel, The Conjuring Hour, was massive, with over 2 million subscribers hanging on her every word. But Evelyn wasn't just chasing likes and views. She was chasing something real, something tangible from the other side. One night, an anonymous email landed in her inbox. The subject line was just for words: Hollowmere is waking. Attached was a single, chilling photograph. A dusty, ornate mirror cracked right down the middle, with a small child's handprint smeared in what looked like ash. A cold feeling washed over her, a mix of fear and excitement she couldn't ignore. This was it. This was real. She booked a flight that very night. The moment she stepped inside Hollowmere, a heavy silence fell over her. It was unnatural. No birds chirping, no wind rustling the leaves, just the loud creak of her own boots on the rotting floorboards. Evelyn was a professional. She methodically set up her gear: infrared cameras to catch movement in the dark, EVP recorders to capture phantom voices, and salt lines at every doorway for protection. But one object in the house seemed to pull her in, calling to her with a silent magnetism. It was the mirror. It stood in the old nursery, 7 feet tall, with a tarnished, Baroque frame. The glass itself was strange. It seemed to shimmer, almost like a pool of water held perfectly still, just waiting for a ripple. Taking a deep breath, Evelyn began the ritual she had performed 100 times before. Her voice was steady as she whispered the familiar words into the silence of the room. I call to the veil. I call to the lost. I conjure what lingers. As the last word left her lips, the surface of the mirror didn't just ripple. It buckled, and for a split second, she saw something, or someone, looking back at her from the other side. The house grew colder as the hours ticked by. Then, at precisely 3:17 a.m., it happened. A figure materialized inside the mirror. It was a young boy, no older than 10, wearing faded pajamas from the 1960s. His eyes were dark, hollow voids. His mouth moved as if he was trying to speak, to scream, but no sound came out. Drawn by a morbid curiosity, Evelyn leaned closer to the glass, trying to make out his words. Suddenly, the boy slammed his small palms against the inside of the mirror. The sound was deafening, a sonic boom that echoed through the entire mansion. All at once, her candles were snuffed out and her cameras shorted, plunging the room into absolute darkness. And in that terrifying, pitch-black silence, a child's voice whispered right beside her ear, "You shouldn't have come." When her emergency lights flickered back on a moment later, the boy was gone. But the mirror was now weeping thick, dark blood. Most people would have run, but Evelyn wasn't most people. She saw this not as a warning, but as a confirmation. She was onto something huge. She grabbed her backup camera and went live. Thousands of her followers tuned in, their comments flooding the chat as she explained what had just happened. She told them she was going to attempt a full séance to make contact with the Whitlock family. She placed her hands on a small wooden table in front of the bleeding mirror, closed her eyes, and spoke into the darkness. "Whitlock family, I conjure thee." The response was immediate and violent. The table began to shake violently. A new crack spider webbed across the mirror, and then the voices came. They flooded her audio equipment, a horrifying chorus of overlapping sounds, screaming, manic laughing, and desperate crying. One voice, a woman's, rose above the chaos, sharp and clear. "He's still here. He never left." The live chat exploded. Viewers were spamming comments, claiming they could see a shadow moving behind her. A tall, dark figure with what looked like antlers. Evelyn's heart pounded. She whipped her head around. There was nothing there, just an empty, dusty room. But then, she made the mistake of looking back at the mirror. And she saw it, standing right behind her reflection. She woke up the next morning on the nursery floor with no memory of how she got there. A sharp, burning pain on her shoulder made her flinch. When she pulled back her shirt, she found a symbol carved into her skin, a spiral made of thorns. She scrambled for her equipment, desperate to review the footage. But it was all gone. Every file was corrupted. The live stream from her channel had vanished, as if it never happened. A wave of pure panic finally hit her. She had to get out. She ran for the front door, but when she reached the foyer, she froze in horror. The door was gone. In its place stood another identical mirror. In a fit of rage and terror, she grabbed a fallen chair and hurled it at the glass. It shattered, revealing not the front lawn she expected, but something impossible, a long, dark hallway that wasn't on the house's blueprints. The walls were covered in faded, childish drawings. As she hesitantly stepped through the broken frame, she saw that every single drawing depicted the same terrifying thing. A tall man with no face, crowned in antlers, holding a mirror in his hand. Evelyn knew she had no choice but to follow the impossible hallway. With every step she took, the air grew colder, and the children's drawings on the walls became more and more disturbing. What started as simple figures turned into scenes of pure violence. Children screaming in terror, parents engulfed in flames. And mirrors everywhere, swallowing people whole. The hallway ended at a single, plain wooden door. Her hand trembled as she turned the knob. Behind it was the nursery, but it was a twisted, nightmarish version of the room she'd left. The crib was filled not with blankets, but with yellowed, brittle bones. The mobile above it spun slowly, moved by an unseen force. And the mirror was gone. Standing in its place was the creature from the drawings. The hollow man. He was 7 feet tall, his skin like cracked porcelain with jagged antlers that scraped the ceiling. And where his face should have been, there was only a smooth, reflective surface of mirror. He slowly raised a hand toward her, and in the reflection where his face should be, Evelyn saw her own image. And it was screaming. The hollow man didn't speak with a voice. The words simply appeared inside her head, a cold, booming echo in her skull. "You conjured me. You opened the gate. Now you must feed it." Evelyn recoiled. She tried to fight back, insisting she was a conjurer, not a vessel, but the hollow man showed her the truth. He flooded her mind with images of every séance, every ritual, every single video she had ever posted. He showed her that each time she conjured a spirit, she was actually strengthening him, feeding him a sliver of energy from the other side. Her audience, her 2 million subscribers, they weren't just watching a ghost hunt. They were unknowingly participating in a ritual sacrifice. And now that the gate was fully open, they were next on the menu. Unless the hollow man offered, she was willing to make a trade. One last, big offering to satisfy him. There was only one thing left to do. Evelyn set up her phone for one final broadcast. She went live, her face pale and drawn. She told her viewers everything. The truth about Hollowmere, about the Hollow Man, about her channel. She begged them to log off, to leave the stream, to forget her, and to never, ever try to conjure spirits on their own. But human curiosity is a powerful, dangerous thing. Instead of leaving, more people joined. The view count climbed higher and higher, 200,000. 500,000, 1 million. As the numbers swelled, the mirror behind her began to glow with an eerie, pulsating light. Inside the glass, faces began to appear, the faces of her subscribers. One by one, their expressions turned to terror. They began to scream, their digital ghosts trapped in the glass, before their screens on the other side of the world went black. It was a massacre. Evelyn turned from the horrifying sight and faced the hollow man. "Stop," she pleaded. "Take me instead." The being's mirrored face seemed to twist into something that resembled a smile. And then the stream ended. Weeks later, a new YouTube channel appeared online. It was called The Hollow Hour. There were no uploaded videos, no posts, no community tabs. Just a single scheduled live stream. The thumbnail for the stream was a picture of Evelyn. She was standing in the nursery at Hollowmere, in front of that cursed mirror, and she was smiling. The title of the upcoming stream read, "Let's conjure something together," and in the live chat, thousands of names were already waiting.